Hey guys, it's Danny. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome to another video. If you're new here, thank you for coming to check out my channel. Feel free to subscribe for more videos like this. I do a lot of fashion videos, try-on hauls, reviews for products, and mental health and lifestyle videos like this one. And if you are a returning subscriber, thank you so much for coming back and checking out this video. Love you guys. Thank you so much for your support. I always see your nice comments down below. So definitely keep that up. I love hearing what you guys have to say. If you like this video and you find it helpful, remember to give it a thumbs up and let's get into it. This is gonna be another video about anxiety and panic disorder and overcoming it on your own using your mind. Speaking of natural remedies for anxiety, I'm drinking some chamomile tea right now. And it's one of my favorite teas that are calming for anxiety. It's just super simple, tastes good, and doesn't have too many interactions as well. All right, let's put that down and let's start talking about getting through an anxiety disorder or panic disorder. And everyone's anxiety is different. We all have felt the feeling it feels to be anxious, if that makes any sense, but not everyone has an anxiety disorder. So I think that there's a lot of confusion with that. A lot of people claim they have anxiety when it's not a disorder. It's not affecting your life. It's only situational or an anticipation kind of anxiety. Anticipatory? What do they call it? I don't even know. But everyone who has panic disorder or an anxiety disorder or something along those lines has different anxiety. We all have the same manifestation of our symptoms. So everything manifests in the same way. We feel shaky, we feel dizzy, and we can come together and kind of talk about, be there for each other and agree on those symptoms that we all get from the anxiety as a result of the fight or flight reflex or instinct that's in all of us, but only goes off in those that have panic disorder, anxiety disorder for stupid reasons. But yeah, so everyone's has a different anxiety. You don't know what's going on in someone else's head or mind or life, or the reasons and triggers that they get anxious are different than someone else's. So it's really important to know your own and to try to figure that out. And if you're trying to help someone else who has anxiety, to try your best, even if you don't have it, to understand their triggers and how they work with it. And if you're someone with anxiety, helping someone else with anxiety is just to know that just because, and I've felt this and I've had this happen with other people that are close to me in my life who also have anxiety issues, it's like you assume that they feel the same way sometimes when they don't. Their anxiety is totally different in totally different situations. And one of us may be fine in this situation, another one of us would not be fine. Does that make any sense? I feel like I'm being really confusing. I guess it's in a situation where I would be in a car and with a bunch of people on a road trip, I wouldn't be okay. I would have to work through that still and kind of have just maybe one safe person that I know will stop if I'm freaking out, and they will pull over and everything's cool and I won't have to make a big deal out of it. When another person who has an anxiety disorder might only get anxious maybe if they're alone. I know a lot of people who can't be alone, and that is part of their anxiety disorder, is like they're afraid to go places alone. So them being in a car full of people might actually be the opposite, but they still are a person with anxiety. It's just different causes, and just it's really important, I feel, to remember how that works for each person to help them and to understand them, because the biggest part of being a human being is coming together and understanding each other. But the most important thing for you to do when you have anxiety, I feel, or I've felt, to help yourself, if you are going to go the natural route and try to just beat it by yourself with your own mind and breathing techniques and mental abilities, is to know your anxiety yourself. Know you. Once you can work around your own mind, you have a better chance of being able to control it yourself. And that control is going to help you And once you can work that around your own mind, you have more of the power to control your anxiety. So if you haven't seen my previous videos or know me personally, I have panic disorder, I suffer from panic attacks. I have been fighting through that and with my anxiety my whole life. I was agoraphobic for a little while. I'm planning on making more videos about that in the future. But there are some statements to say to yourself, some questions to ask yourself when you're thinking those thoughts that you're thinking right before you have a panic attack, because there's stages of a panic attack. So there's like the initial trigger, which you might not even realize is a trigger, and then there's the catastrophic self-sabotaging thoughts where you're thinking about what's gonna happen, what's gonna go wrong, and that's when your mind is starting to spiral, and that's the point where you have control to stop it. So I'm gonna show you a few different self-statements to ask yourself anytime something happens in your body that tells you that there's disaster coming. I'm just gonna go down a list because I have them all written down. And it's a good exercise to write them down too if you wanna write them down and like refer back to them or study it. It's like a very important thing to always kind of keep studying or keep revisiting things in your head when you suffer from this. So the first one is, what do I fear is happening? What's the worst that could happen? What evidence do I have for that fear? Then we have, what else could be causing my symptoms? Something physical, like rushing around too much or drinking too much caffeine. Like, what else could be causing the way I'm feeling right now? So you're trying to rationalize it, that's what you're doing. Does anyone else with panic and anxiety experience these same symptoms, and what might that mean for my situation? What ultimately did happen the last time I experienced this feeling? What does that tell me? Is it possible that these symptoms can be anxiety related? If I slow down my breathing, try to relax my muscles, do my symptoms decline? What does that suggest about the cause of my symptoms? This is a huge one for me that it took me a few years to really get a hold of. And it sounds like it could be so easy, but in that moment, if you have anxiety and panic disorder, you know it's not easy to just kind of get in there and be like, relax your muscles and see if that makes everything go away. That thought has helped me so much because I've just sat there and I've kind of just embraced it. And I've read this before. A lot of these tips actually come from some self-help anxiety and panic disorder books, which if I have any of them, I find them online, I will leave them linked down below as well for you, because they have helped me so much and they're so important. But what was I? I've read that if you almost welcome the anxiety and accept that it's here and accept that's a part of you, this might not work for some people, but it's worked for me. I'm just kind of like, okay, this feeling that I'm feeling, like that rushing feeling that you feel in your chest and your whole body, I just kind of sit with it for a second and I'm like, it's here, this is it. Like, and for some reason, it a lot of the time just goes away in that like very moment of just accepting it and welcoming it and not fighting against it so hard, like, oh my God, I'm panicking, I'm gonna panic here, everyone's gonna know. Just being like, yep, I feel like this again, this is my life. There's that feeling again, I felt this my whole life and I never die from it. So it's not easy every time, but a lot of the times if you can get that in your head and just be like, it's just panic, I felt this, it helps a lot. Going back to the list though, what would my best friend say about my fears right now? And can I say that to myself? Try to picture it coming from another person, rationalizing it. If you have another person around you and you want to vocalize, then that's always a good thing, is to have them kind of check you, reality check you. Who do I know personally who also experiences the same symptoms? Remind yourself that this is not uncommon and so many people feel the same way. You're not crazy, you're not alone. Try to think of all the other people you know who have anxiety, or famous people, anyone, and just give yourself perspective that way as well. When you're dealing with anxiety and fighting it all by yourself with your mind, you have to also give yourself positive coping statements and just let yourself off easy, because for the longest time I would, and I still do, get down on myself a lot, and I know I have to fight against that, but like kind of comparing yourself to other people and wishing that you were more normal and you wish you could be more like this person and just be free. I feel that all the time, but it's so important to acknowledge how far you've come. And some other people, if they might be around you a lot, they might even be blinded to how far you've come and assume that you can do so much more than you're ready for. But you need to keep staying at your own pace and not worry about what they think, and just know that you are right where you belong, and this is what you were given and you're fighting it. So positive coping statements. Number 1, I've learned a lot of ways to cope with my anxiety. I can handle a lot of new situations. I thought blank would be tough, but it turned out just fine. I'm starting to understand that my anxiety won't hurt me even though it's unpleasant. And I'm seeing some real changes in myself. My mind is powerful. Just reminding yourself that you have control. Your mind is powerful. You've come a long way. Even what some people might not think is a baby step or improvement, it is. And there's improvements that are not like visual to other people. They might just be in your own head and your thought patterns. This is another big thing for me that not a lot of people think about, I feel like. So we think about panic disorder and the way it leads to a panic attack are thoughts, like a thought pattern and a thought process that is negative and catastrophic. But sometimes for me, it's just images. It won't be like thoughts like, this is gonna happen, this is gonna happen, I'm gonna die, whatever, blah, blah, blah. It can be just a flash of a traumatic event in my life that just hits me when I just look at something out in the world, like that has nothing to do with it, or that no one would think that has anything to do with it. But for me, it finds its way in my brain and triggers me to feel that way. So, I guess an example of that, which I don't really want to talk about, but I feel like I should to help other people, is like if I see a car on the side of the road, anyone would just kind of think, oh, whatever, a car on the side of the road, broken down, overheating, making a phone call. The first thing that comes to my mind is like, oh God, like throwing up, like that person pulled over to throw up. That's what goes through my mind. I see flashes of images. If you haven't seen my previous video, I'm emetophobic, so I'll leave that one linked down below, like a video completely about that phobia of mine. But that, just seeing stuff like that immediately will trigger it. And a really good like tip to fight against that I recently just learned about, but I think I've been doing for years on my own without knowing, is replacing the image. And they call this counter image practice. So you can practice this just in your bed before you go to sleep at night, or wherever you might feel like you'll be calm and feel safe to do it. But it's just kind of practicing like viewing that image, and once you see that like image that triggers you, that's tragic and traumatic to you, is to replace it. Have something to always go back to replace it, like a puppy or something like that you love that makes you happy, that you can like really practice, like strengthening your mind like as if it's a muscle, to replace, to counter that tragic image with. Having the mind connection ends up giving you peace in the end. When dealing with panic attacks and phobias, it's crucial to remember that power is not equal to probability. Your experience gives your panic and your fear power, but it doesn't make it more likely to occur. You just need to keep putting yourself in situations that will make you nervous and telling yourself, I have all the tools right here with me, I'm prepared. For me, it was just leaving the house for a good like almost year of my life. And it's just super important to keep challenging yourself, giving yourself little challenges that make you afraid until you no longer need such a break in between. So you do a challenge, and it could be the smallest, stupidest thing to someone, but to you it's a challenge, and it's to fight your anxiety. And then give yourself a good break after, like, because when you have a panic attack or really bad anxiety for a full day, you know it's physically and mentally completely draining. And what I usually call it is like an anxiety hangover, where I need a full day to recover after an event that might give me a higher amounts of anxiety all day. Because, you know, physically restraining our muscles, mentally, it's freaking ridiculous. So giving yourself those breaks after challenges and continuing those challenges until you no longer need as long of or as many breaks as you did in the past. And that, without even knowing, is slowly kind of guiding you into being able to do more and worry less. Also, the physical aspect of it. Learn about the body, learn about science. That helped me so much, and just being able to talk to myself and tell myself that heavy breathing or fast breathing can cause aching in the chest wall, which you think is you having a heart attack or chest pain. Over breathing, sometimes without even knowing you're doing it, can cause a rapid pulse. Adrenaline can cause dizziness and a whole array of fight or flight symptoms. If you don't know, just take the time to look up fight or flight symptoms. These are symptoms that happen in a situation where your body and your mind know that something bad's happening. And usually it's for a good reason. It's to save your life. But with panic disorder, it's for example, the only car on the street, the car alarm goes off with just a gust of wind when nothing actually dangerous is happening. And non-adrenaline can make you feel foggy and hard to remember, and coming down after a panic attack makes you feel that way too. A lot of times when I'm done being at such a heightened spot, I end up crying, and then sometimes it leads to confusion. You have to know the physical symptoms that come with it, digestion issues, all that, and recognize that your anxiety it has power to mess up your whole body, and that it's not you dying or something bad happening to you. And recognize when your anxiety goes away, do those symptoms go away? It's a whole cycle, but it's really important to know the physical and scientific parts of it as well. While having anxiety and really bad panic attacks, I felt that giving myself these questions to ask myself, to challenge my self-sabotaging thoughts, have really helped over time. And it's almost like a skill that you just keep getting better at once you learn. So I really hope that you take some advice from this video and kind of get some mental help in some way. I really want to make more videos just using the knowledge that I have just from my own experience to try to help other people. It's really something that I really would love to keep doing. So if you guys like these videos, definitely remember to give it a thumbs up, share it if you feel like it can help someone, or if it helped you. Subscribe to my channel for more videos. Press that notification bell down below to be reminded every time I post a new video so that you don't miss one. And I'll see you in my next one. Bye.